As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sports certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. As always, I am your host, Reggie Darden, and I'm excited to have Mr. Sumner with me today. We're going to talk some Kempo, talk a big, Kempo milestone coming up here, and a wonderful event that's coming up. So that's why we got Mr. Sumner back on with us to talk about that. And as usual, whatever other rat holes that we get onto, we'll do that as well. So I always start things off by just giving a little bit of my background. I, of course, train in multiple martial arts, Kempo, Capoeira, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and I also have some experience in Taekwondo and some boxing. So as I always say, I'm a busy guy, but I have fun, and I can't just choose just one art to train in. So that's what I do, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So now we're going to go ahead and turn it over to our guest. I think what we'll start off with is maybe if you want to kind of just give a brief introduction to yourself, and then we'll get into talking about the event.
Sure. I was born and grew up in San Jose, California. And, probably like everybody else, started out with boxing when I was younger at the YMCA, wrestling. Got pretty good at boxing. My coach at the YMCA started sending me to camps at San Jose State, where Julie Menendez was the coach. And Menendez had been a two-time Olympic coach, coached Cassius Clay, later Muhammad Ali to a gold medal, and then later George Foreman. And so he was grooming me for a scholarship to come there and box for him when somebody got killed in the Nationals and the NCAA dropped boxing. But I stopped by after wrestling practice. I wrestled in high school. My coach was Pat Lovell, at that time the only American to ever win a medal. He won a bronze medal at the Olympics in wrestling. But I stopped by to see my 8th grade school teacher, who had been, one of my boxing mentors. And he said, forget about that. I'm doing something now called Kempo. And I spent the next hour showing me things, and that was that. I had to get into that. So I contacted my buddy Rick Harper, and we went to work getting our parents to allow us to do that. They were reluctant at first, but they finally acquiesced, and that was when we started. That was late 1963, and I just developed an absolute passion for it. Gave up all high school sports. I was a good athlete, played football and wrestled, but Kempo just pulled me into it. Then while I was, when I started college at San Jose State, they had the NCAA champion judo team under Yoshishida. And So I could take PE. It was a two day class, so I took two PE classes. So I studied with those guys 4 days a week, and then gradually gave up boxing, but continued with Kempo until I met. I became curious about the healing arts. Everybody talked about it, but nobody seemed to know anything about it. And people had various theories on it. And then somebody finally directed me to Sig Kufaroth, who was the successor to Henry Okazaki in Danzen-ryu Jiu-Jitsu. And though he was from Hawaii, he was living with his daughter in Santa Clara, about 10 miles from my house. And so I had a friend arrange an introduction. And I got into his healing arts class and ultimately learned his jiu-jitsu system. Studied with him for about 10 years until he passed. And then I always taught at other people's schools until finally opened my own in 1988 and ran that until I moved out to Texas in 2013 and left that in the hands of Vance Markami, who was my Thomas.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. So we may kind of bounce around here, but yeah, let's get right into the meat and potatoes here. So the big event is coming up. So let's maybe let's get into that and kind of the history of that, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, well, Al Tracy in 1999. Well, it was before that he started planning it. He wanted to have an event that involved all the different styles of Kempo and get all the top people together to teach. Originally, his idea was to have it as just for the seniors. And I told him, I said, you cannot put together that kind of talent and not teach classes. I mean, the students will rebel. I mean, they're going to want to be there. Well, I think we had close to 1,000 people in 1999 at the Frontier Casino in Las Vegas. I mean, it was incredible. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, and the way he billed it was once in a lifetime. And he had T-shirts made that said "once in a lifetime" and that sort of thing. And anybody who was there will tell you it was just, it was an amazing event. And then at the banquet that night, Ralph Castro officially turned his leadership of his system over to his son Rob. I mean, we got to see an actual passing of the torch in a major Kempo system. And it was so successful that Al decided to do it again in 2001, and it became an every other year thing at that point. So we're coming up here. This will be 27 years actually that we've been doing this. It's a lot of people think it's a Tracy event. It's open to all styles of Kempo. We'll have instructors from outside of Tracy's organization. I think Eugene Cedeno from Kaiji Kempo is planning on being there, and quite a few other people. So it's a big time event. John Ozuna from Bak Fudo provided his filming schedule. He's been really busy in Hollywood. He may be there to teach, and even if he's not, there's going to be a number of really great instructors.
Very nice, very nice. I like that, especially since since there's seems to be a little bit of a division among some of the various Kempo groups and schools throughout the world. It's definitely nice to see an event where we can kind of bring everybody together and be unified, even though we may not see exactly the eye to eye on every little thing or every little technique or teaching style or whatever you want to have. It's good to say, hey, like let's get everybody together and celebrate this art, and we can kind of put those little differences aside and get everybody together.
Well, we have within the Kempo world a lot more in common than we do with differences. And even within the same system, you go from school to school, you'll see slight differences. I studied at the Tracy Brothers School. There were three Tracy brothers. My primary instructor up to black belt was Jim Tracy, and his style is people who are around then can look at me and say, "Yeah, you definitely were a Jim student." So, and I don't think that hurts anything. Different people, different sizes, different bodies. My style has changed as I've gotten older. At 75, I can't do things that I could do when I was 16 or 18 or 25. So Kempo is going to grow and change with you, and it doesn't hurt to see what other people are doing. Peter Coyle will be at the event this year from Ireland. Peter's over 80. He was one of John McSweeney's original students. Well, John McSweeney, like the Tracys, was a student of Ed Parker's. He decided to go over to Dublin to get his master's degree at Trinity University, and to finance his education, he opened a Kempo school. It's been there ever since. A lot of great practitioners have come out of that Irish Kempo. So, but it's always interesting to see what other people stress. And though you can't learn a system by going to seminars, you can certainly pick up key principles and points that can augment your skill and your art greatly if you will incorporate those.
Yeah, that's the thing. And of course, my dog is going crazy, so it wouldn't be a show without without my dog chiming in. So you may hear some squeaking in the background. That is her with her favorite toy. So, but we'll try and press through until I can wrestle that away from her. But
Well, I've got a
oh,
couple of new
nice.
kittens in our house, so I may get a kitten on the lap
Very
there.
nice,
So,
very nice. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can wrangle this away from her. Let go. So yeah, with the seminars, yeah, of course, you can only retain so much at a seminar, but I've always looked at it as it gives you ideas. It kind of opens up your mind to maybe a different way of thinking or different idea, and maybe not so much, oh well, we're going to learn this specific technique or this specific training pattern or something like that. It's more, hey, this is something that I do that maybe you don't do, and maybe this will open your eyes to explore this different way of thinking, and see if that's something that you want to integrate into your own training, or maybe unlock an idea for you to come up with something new. And it's just a kind of a mind opening and eye opening experience, more so than, oh well, we're going to learn this specific technique or this specific form or whatever the case is. So
well, as they say, there's 6 degrees of separation. Well, in the Kempo world, there's two. I'll give you an example. John Sepulveda invited me to sit on his promotion board one time, and there were 24 people, two of them going for black belt, the rest of them going for higher black. And about halfway through, he said, "All right, everybody take a break and then get up one at a time and give us your background." And of the 22 black belts, half of them had either studied at one time with one of my students or one of my students' students. So we're much more homogenous than a lot of people want to think. Uh, you know, so and again, people like to play up the division between Ed Parker and Al Tracy. Al Tracy spoke to Ed Parker just a couple days before he passed. They were good friends, and Al was very shaken by his untimely passing, by Parker's untimely passing. And that was also one of the inspirations for the Gathering of Eagles. He told me, he said, I don't want to see anybody else pass until we all get an opportunity to meet and see them.
Yeah, that's definitely something I think maybe a lot of us kind of take for granted in that thinking that yeah, these teachers and whatnot are going to be around for forever, and oh well, I'll just see this person tomorrow or next week, or and it's like tomorrow isn't promised, and anybody can go at any time, and yeah, you got to take advantage of these people while they're here, and get those stories, get that information, so that we don't have these kind of division and oh, I don't know what this person thought or that person thought. It's like let's get them around to and talk to them today and work with them today, so that we have that information and just that experience. I know there's been a number of times where it's like, oh, I wish I would have gone to this class or that seminar or whatever, and didn't, and now I don't have the opportunity.
Exactly. I always encourage people who are passionate about their art to not miss events like this. You're not going to learn, like I say, a system, but getting to meet people. And when I met Judo Gene LaBelle, I was at one of Bob White's events, and it was a tournament in Anaheim. And he asked me, well, what's your discipline? I told him Tracy Brothers and Kempo, and he said, well, what about the grappling? I said, well, I did okay in wrestling. I wrestled under Pat Lovell, and his eyes opened. And he said, Pat Lovell, the Olympian? And I said, yeah. And then I was able to study judo for 2.5 years under Yoshishida at San Jose State, and his eyes got even bigger. I said, and then I spent 10 years with, I boxed the whole time along under Julie Menendez, and then studied under Sig Kufroth at Danzan Jiu-Jitsu. And his comment to me was, what star were you born under to be able to study from all those great instructors? And I told him straight away, one, it is where I lived, in the Bay Area. They were all available. And two, when they made themselves available, I took them up on it. When I started studying with Professor Kufroth, I notified a couple of my friends. I said, hey, you guys want to get in on training with this man? Oh, yeah. Well, when do you do it? Well, it's, Tuesdays and Thursdays and then all weekend. Oh, well, I play volleyball at the beach on weekends, and, I have, some other silly thing that they do on Tuesday and Thursday night. You got to make room for it. I gave up. I never got to wear a Letterman sweater in high school because I gave everything up. Now, I had a black belt, but I didn't get to wear a Letterman sweater. And I gave that up intentionally because of my passion for Kempo. So, like I say, don't miss these opportunities. These guys may not be around next year. In addition, you never know who you're going to run into. At Gary Lee's thing in Houston a couple of years ago, I finally got to meet Roy Corbin, Judge Roy, and turns out we had a mutual friend who was one of my professors in graduate school. So and had a real good conversation. Great man. You don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know who you're going to get to meet, and you don't know how that's going to fit into your training later on. So don't miss it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important to take advantage of those opportunities when they're around, and just like with anything, if you have that passion for it, today we have all these excuses of I don't have time, I got to do this. It's like if you want it enough, you'll make time, you'll figure out a way to make it happen, and won't let those excuses get in the way there. So with the event, maybe can you kind of give kind of a little outline of kind of how it's planned to go, as far as kind of the layout or kind of the schedule or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not the coordinator on the whole thing. That all that information on the flyer, if somebody wants to get signed up to go. But what we're planning is on Friday morning. We have a number of people who have been around over 60 years in the art, and we're going to do a Q&A on Friday morning. They can ask anything they want. A lot of people are curious about things that went on back in the blood and guts era. And then after that, there will be seminars throughout the day. Friday night, just a meet and greet, over cocktails if you want. And then Saturday morning starts the more seminars. They'll run throughout the day, and then there'll be a break for about 2 hours, and then the banquet in the evening will be inducting a few people into the Hall of Fame, and then we'll be giving awards for this year. It'll be a time in people who've been in 20 years or more, 30 years or more, 40 years or more, 50 years, and then we'll have the 60 and older, not age wise, but years in the art. So it's going to be a full 2 days there.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it's a little kind of I don't know, surreal, kind of crazy to think that we've got people that have been just doing Kempo longer than I've been alive. It's I don't know. It's kind of scrambling my brain a little bit, but yeah, it's great thing to continue that training, and don't let age or anything like that slow you down. That's just keep on going. As long as as long as there's a breath in you, there's no reason you can't still train and still learn and still grow and still share the art. So yeah, I like that.
And many people ask, and I'm sure this will come up on Friday morning, specific incidents where studying Kempo or knowledge of Kempo has changed your life. Probably the biggest change ever was the day I was promoted and put on a black belt. And a couple of things happened. I mean, I looked down and, wow, a black belt, and I'm wearing it. The other thing was, well, it doesn't seem all that different than it did just a couple hours ago. What's going on here? And that was when I learned the black belt was the beginning. Now you got to go through and make this stuff, make this work, make it part of you. But it certainly affects your life. I once said that I had more freedom than, say, for instance, Bill Gates, who was the founder of Microsoft. And they said, "Well, how's that?" I said, "Well, I can walk around in Seattle any time of day or night, anywhere I want to go, and I'm perfectly safe. He has to have a bodyguard, He'd be in real trouble."
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So since you've had so much time in Kempo and training, where do you see the future of the art? Where would you like it to go? Just kind of, since there's so many things, we have the MMA and stuff like that, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and whatever other art is kind of the I don't know, the flavor of the month. What kind of things maybe would you like to see to help Kempo grow more, and then just kind of where do you think the direction of it's heading with our current generation of teachers, and then the older generations of teachers they're passing on and whatnot, and kind of where's the future?
Well, I'll tell you, there's always been a flavor of the month. Something new comes along every few years. And then ultimately we come back to the only thing that really covers everything is Kempo. I know that the grappling is a big thing now. What you have to be careful of when you start to cross train is we have what are called strategy and tactics, just like in warfare. What's your strategy? Well, your strategy is to get a satisfactory solution to your self defense needs. The tactics you use are what's important at that point. And I find, the grapplers will tell you, well, 80%, 90%, 95% of all fights go to the ground. Okay, well, I'll give you another statistic. 50% of those end when they hit the ground because somebody doesn't have any falling skills and they get hurt on hitting the ground. And my experience over the years has been that the ground never misses. It's big, it's hard, it doesn't give a damn if it hurts you, and it never misses. So falling skills are absolutely essential. When I go to seminars and I don't have any of my students with me to Uki, I'll grab somebody and I'll ask them, how are your falling skills? And a lot of them tell me, I don't know, I've never been taught how to fall. How to fall, how to roll. I've saved myself from injury so many more times by knowing how to fall than I ever had to fight. So again, it goes back to the extensiveness of the art. Kempo covers it all. Jack Autry, I was having dinner with him one night, and he says, "If I ever get assaulted on the street, I sure hope it's an MMA fighter." He says they got 32 rules that they have to abide by, and every one of them is about strike into the eye, strike into the throat, strike into the groin. Those are all things we do. When I started training in Kempo and I was still going back and boxing, everybody else said, "Hey, that's illegal. You're a dirty fighter." They kind of shunned me. But then I'd go to the Kempo school and be smart. They go, "Hey, you're a dirty fighter. That's great." Because in Kempo, in my self-defense experiences, especially as a police officer, it was all on the line. They would have killed me if they had the chance. So, we're not fooling around. We're not tapping out. We're not waiting for an official to say break. It's serious business. And that's why it always seems to come back to Kempo, And again, Chuck Sullivan, who's now 94 years old, 95, I've never seen him so serious as he was in Las Vegas. We were at the Kempo Karate Hall of Fame, Paul Casey's event, and somebody said something about cross training, and he turned and he was serious as a heart attack. And he said, "Boy, you better be careful what you start cross training in and what you mix in with your Kempo, because you can dilute it. You can make it ineffectual real easy if you don't watch yourself." So, like you say, there's a flavor of the month. There always will be. I don't approve of teaching watered down Kempo to children. I always direct their parents to a jiu-jitsu school where they can learn grappling, falling, rolling, get that stuff down as a base. When they get to be about 14 or 15, then you can teach them the oftentimes lethal movements of Kempo and say, don't use this unless you absolutely have to. Don't screw around hitting your friends, especially with the nerve striking. Everybody wants to shock their buddy, Don't do that. That can go bad. So be very careful with this. And that's why I prefer to teach adults.
Yeah, I'm with you 1,000,000% when it comes to the falling. I'm gonna get on my little soapbox or whatnot and just say, yes, if you're not practicing falling, rolling, that you're really doing yourself a disservice in your training. I've seen so many, and I'll even add in to, even if you're not training, just learning how to fall is just crucial for life, especially as we get up in years. A simple fall can be over for you. But
well, and also getting up.
Exactly.
How to get
exactly.
up. So if you go to the ground with your opponent, and you're not injured because you know how to fall and you're back on your feet and he's still on the ground. Now who's got the advantage? And don't talk to me about crossing the guard.
Exactly.
You can be badly
Exactly.
on the ground if the guy doesn't want to play with you
Exactly.
nowadays.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, I've seen too many instances where just the simple, oh well, the guy fell on the ground, bounced his head off the concrete, and that's it. And as we're recording here, I actually was on jury duty yesterday, and it was an assault case, and the young men that were involved in this case, they were fighting, and one of them hit the tile on the. They were fighting in a restroom, and poor kid hit his head on the floor and proceeded to get stomped on by this other guy. And it's just like, yeah, just falling. You can just. I mean, I don't care how big, bad, tough you are. You take a good shot to the chin, and it sends you down, and you bounce your head off the ground, and that could be it for you. Yeah.
well, it can be an accident too. I
Yeah.
mean, it may
Yeah.
be a lucky shot. I had 3 professional kickboxing matches, and in my third one, I guess my opponent wasn't used to training with shoes on, and I had match shoes. Anyway, he stumbled. I just covered, and he hit his eye socket on the point of my elbow. Rolled over, clear liquid started running out of his nose, and it turned out it had fractured his skull at the base underneath. And like one of our black belts said to me, Max Monovich, who was a chemistry professor at Stanford, he said, that could just as easily have been you. That was an accident. So things can happen. If you don't mind my changing the subject just a little bit, this is one of the reasons that I always urge my advanced students to start teaching, to take a student. And many people are reluctant to do that. And I've found that the one thing that they fear is that they're going to be asked questions and they might not have the answer. Well, the trick is anticipate the questions, get the answers ahead of time. If you don't, explain to them, I don't know, but I'll find out. Use experiences that you have. If you don't have an experience about that, borrow one from somebody else. I got plenty of them. But the main thing is then you anticipate. You anticipate. You're a step ahead of your student. Same thing when you're fighting. If all you're doing is reacting, eventually they can tag you. There can be an accident, an elbow in the eye socket, hitting your head on the curb. And if you're a step ahead of them, good. If you're 2 steps ahead, that's where you should be at the least. Well, then it just becomes fun.
Exactly.
I mean, I hate to say fighting is fun, but I like it. It's enjoyable, and that's how you do it. And teaching is an absolutely essential to becoming the most effective martial artist.
No, I agree 1,000%. I'm so glad that you brought that up. In that, yes, it doesn't matter the art. It doesn't even it applies to just about everything that you learn more when you have to teach it to somebody else. And there's so many martial artists that get up to these advanced ranks. They get their black belt, and they think they can just teach. And just because you have a black belt does not mean that you can teach. I've I've experienced a lot of people that they're great people, great martial artists, but not great teachers. And there's not anything that says that, oh well, you have to. You have to do that, or you have to make that career. But if you're going to be advanced rank, you definitely need to have that experience of doing that. And, teaching's not for everybody. Maybe you do it for a while, you do it for, I don't know, a year or something like that. And you realize, oh, well, this isn't my jam. Then that's fine. But to just kind of shy away from it or not implement that at all in your training, I feel is not a recipe for success. So I like that.
No,
I like that.
no, agreed.
So I don't believe I asked you this the last time we had you on. So I've been asking my guests what they their feelings on what it means to be a black belt. Since there isn't a standard for that, I've just been kind of trying to get people's thoughts on what it means to be a black belt, what it means to earn a black belt, what it means to have a black belt, and just kind of your thoughts surrounding that.
Well, people in my genre, the people who've been around as long as I have now, if you tell them you're a black belt, they'll say, under who? Like you say, it's not a standard that is pervasive. So who you study under has a lot to do with it. And I think that people ask, how long does it take the average person to get a black belt? The average person doesn't get a black belt. And if they were average when they started, by the time they get ready for that test for black belt, they're not average anymore. But I think that to be a black belt, well, to have a black belt, to have been promoted to black belt is different than earning the black belt. And then being a black belt is different than having been promoted to black belt. You don't start becoming a black belt until, for instance, when I promote somebody to black belt, we spend the next year going through all the material that they had learned to get to black belt. And then the next year they go through, during that time they're learning the healing arts. And then we go through and we apply the more subtle and esoteric parts of the healing arts where they fit in to the fighting arts. And suddenly, in 2 years, they've tripled their knowledge, their functional knowledge. So, like I say, are you a black belt? Yes. It's like when somebody says, long six, I know that kata. Oh, really? Let's see it. Well, I don't remember it. Well, then you don't know it. What are you talking about? If you aren't doing it, you don't know it. So, like I say, as you age, and I've had injuries, I've been shot twice, I've been stabbed 3 times, I've had both hips replaced. Things change in how you do things. And you have to be training constantly to keep up with that. Because in your mind, you can still run at the wall, jump, climb, run up the wall, kick the ceiling and flip over and land on your feet. I could do that when I was 18. I can't do that. I can't even run anymore. So, but you have to work and train on the things that you can do, because that's what's going to save you. So that is what being a black belt is all about. Being a black belt, not just, I got a black belt when I was 18. Okay, how old are you now? 50. Well, what do you do? Well, I play beach volleyball. Okay, real good. You're not a black belt. Black belt is something you cultivate and you polish it and you refine it and you edify it on a daily basis. And that's why events like this are great, because you're going to meet other people. You're going to see how they train, what they do. I was at a tournament long ago. God, I don't even think I was 18. And I was walking by, and this was when we used to have to go at 7 o'clock in the morning, weigh in, and then they checked your toenails and your fingernails, and you had to cut them. And then you were there all day, and then you'd take a break, go to dinner, and come back, and they'd have the finals at night. Well, during one of these breaks, I was walking by the end of the bleachers. It was at a school gym, and these guys they had a boom box, and they were they were sparring, but they were moving around to the music. These guys were from the BKF, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "Well, we're rhythm sparring." I said, "Rhythm sparring? What are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, it's just sparring. Fighting is just like dancing. You set the beat." And he says, if you can set the beat and get the guy to dance your dance, then you just change records. And I thought, and then Joe Louis caught on to that. And man, he made a science out of it. But one, it kept them loose and warm while they weren't fighting. And you'd be amazed how going through your fighting techniques to music, it's incredible. You get to set a pace, turn it up, slow it down.
Yeah. Oh,
But
God.
I just happened to, I could have walked on by to the restroom. I decided to ask them, what the heck are you guys doing? So, and this is typical. They could have said, hey, go mind your own business. This is our thing. No, they were quite forthcoming with the information.
Oh, I love that.
Same thing happens
I love that. That warms the capoeira side of my heart, and in that training and moving with the music is crucial in capoeira. So it definitely translates to other arts as well. And yeah, there are people that are maybe not so receptive to training with music and that sort of thing, and maybe don't need to do it all the time. But I definitely think it's something to
no.
experiment with, and one of those things like give it a try. Go outside your comfort zone a little bit and give it a try and see if that's going to help you out and give you a new perspective, a new angle in your training. So yeah, I like that. So all right. So,
Well, and anytime you freshen your training methodologies, it just makes it more interesting.
Exactly.
So,
All right, so we're going to move into our lightning round here. I believe I asked you these questions the last time I had you on, but we'll see if your answers are different this go around. So, the first one being, do you have a favorite technique?
well, I think for overall functionality that works on either side, slashing cougar in the Tracy system. It's an inward block with either the right or the left hand, and double tiger claw slash, and then back with the elbow strike into the diaphragm. Works great. It's not something that then transfers to the ground like some of the movements in headlock, where you can attack the nerve centers and it make your technique much more effective. So yeah, I would say that just for overall.
Very nice. I like that one. All right, next question. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
Well, I'll tell you, and I know it within the Kempo system, of course, long four, but overall the book set, and I'll tell you why. It's set up in three dimensions that it covers. The opening movements, a lot of people are confused by them and think they're strange looking. They're not functional as blocks or things like that. If you know the healing arts, you'll understand that those movements are designed to get the lymph nodes pumping. The lymph system doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a pump. It's your movement that makes it happen. And as you do those opening movements in the book set, you get the whole lymph system flowing. and that improves your immune system, as well as it loosens you up and it gets the blood flowing also. The second section are basically fundamental movements. If you look at them, they're done individually. And then finally, the last third of the kata, those are put together into, for lack of a better word, self-defense techniques or scenario. So that, if I had one to do, that would be it. Now, one of our seniors, Dave Simmons, died about almost 20 years ago now. And we put together a training kata based on what he would do as a large man. He was a very big guy, and we call it the tribute kata, and it's set up in a figure eight, but in blocks. Eight meaning good luck in Chinese, and so it can be done in sections. You can do one section, or you can do all 8 sections. And it goes through all the striking power movements and then techniques in the last section.
Very nice. Very nice.
So,
All right. Next question. Do you have a favorite weapon?
my 357.
Very nice. Very nice.
If I have to solve a problem, that can do it. But in Kempo, as our art came down from China to Japan through the samurai, our weapons are the sword, the samurai sword, the spear, and the bow staff, which is what everyone had, for walking. And if you look at them, they do cross over. The movements for each of those 3 weapons are similar. The spear being, one of the most practical. Like Sun Sui said, for the cost of one samurai sword, you can buy 1,000 spears and hire 1,000 spearmen. Many of the techniques in our spear sets are breaking the other person's point off their spear. And if you do that, well, what do you got? Just a guy who eats and can't fight anymore. So I do enjoy the samurai sword, the katana. It's an elegant weapon, and I
like it.
enjoy it.
I like it. All right. Next question. If there's anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Well, I would say Sakuhu Yoshida, who was James Matosi's grandfather. And that would have been about the time of the Meiji Restoration. So you still had a very strong Bushido spirit in the art. And it would have been, unfiltered by modern society and our particular phobias and a propensity for infusing everything that we value.
Very nice, very nice. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're the first and only person to give that answer. So I like that. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Bruce Lees, the Chuck Norrises, those kind of people that get mentioned from time to time. But it's nice to get some of the little bit more outside of the box answers too. So they're all great.
Well, I already had a lesson from Bruce Lee when I was 15, and we was at Ralph Castro's state championships, and Al Tracy said, "There's Bruce Lee over there." Well, he wasn't the Green Hornet yet. He wasn't anything. He was just, the only kung fu stylist that was teaching non-Chinese. And I ran over, and there was a crowd around him, and he was talking and explaining things, and I'm firing question after question at him. And finally, he grabs me and he says, "Shut up, kid. I'm talking." And people often ask me, "What did you do?" I said, "That was a great lesson. I shut up."
I always love those kind of stories too, where we have these people that are legends or up on this particular pedestal, and you kind of have this idea that all they ever do is speak poetically and with they're always talking in I can't think of the word, just whatever parables or whatever kind of just it's always this magical thing that they say 24/7, and it's like no, sometimes they just have to throw out the shut up or the go away or I'm busy, like they're still they're still regular people at the end of the day, so it's nice to get those glimpses of figures like that and just kind of, hey, this is they put their gi pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us. I like hearing that. Very nice. All right. Final question. What is something that always motivates you to train, and or something that you would like to put out for others to motivate them to train? I use the example of Rocky Four. He's got the training montage in the snow, and I see that, and I'm ready to get out on the mats and get to work. So, what is something that motivates you, or something that you want to put out to motivate others?
Well, for me, having gone through the changes that time ravages upon the body, I have to train continually to be able to do the things that I need to be able to do. But over the years, I would say you see different environments, and you think, well, what would happen with a fight there? What would happen? I was in Hawaii one time at Makaha Beach, and we were sitting on the beach, and the tide was coming in, and so I walked out, and I wasn't on sand; I was on volcanic rock, and got into my horse stance to see if I could adjust to the ways the currents were going. And I explained that to somebody, and they said, "Well, that's the same thing that Funakoshi did during a hurricane in Okinawa. He got up on the roof to see if he could balance in the wind, see how his horse stance would hold up." So, and my experience in law enforcement, I found that there's things change all the time. I thought I had a situation under control. I'd stop at the bars on my beat, and I would tell the bartender, "Look, if you have a problem here, I want you to meet me here at this end of the bar by the door. I don't want to walk into that crowd until I know where the problem is." And sure enough, one guy, I got there, he had a big black eye, and he wouldn't finger the guy for me. And I started into the crowd, and the guy grabbed me from behind. That's why I train, and I have found even my high-ranking belts, they hate it on the days when we train on attacks from behind, where they're unannounced. You can see them start to sweat on their upper lip. They don't like it. And when I've taught seminars, they've never asked me to come back and teach that again. What motivates me is just that you never know what life will throw at you. So you got to be ready for everything. And you never know how your skills are going to serve you. You may not be fighting. I always tell the story when I was 15, when I got my brown belt. Ed Parker came up to our school. He taught the adult class, and then he worked with me and my training partner. He taught us the two-man set. We were going to be in the demonstration with him at the banquet that night. Taught us the two-man set, and then taught us each 3 techniques. And then Al Tracy had been working with me on braking. So I had 3 boards, and Ed Parker was sitting right, next to me, watching real closely where the guy was holding it. And I hit, and the center board, the piece flew out to the side, right at his face. And he didn't blink, he didn't move. It just his hand came up, just knocked it out of the way. And then and I realized he's still looking at the boards, and he looks up at me, and then nods like, "Hit it again, kid." So, again, the things that your reflexes, your coordination, your timing, your power, your focus. I mean, when I was a police officer, they'd be trying to kick a door down that was barricaded that a drug lab was in, and I'd step back. I'd say, "Get out of the way," and I'd throw a spinning rear kick. In one case, I knocked not only the door down, but the whole frame and the 4x4 that they had across the door, and the clamps it was bolted to, it took the whole thing down, took the wall down. I mean, and they're looking at me, and I'm 175 pounds, and I just did that. Like I say, you don't know how your skills are going to serve you. It's a day-to-day thing, and the world's unforgiving,
sure.
So you better be ready.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of body cam videos and stuff like that. So I would have loved to have that capture on a video. Yeah, that would. Don't need to get the battering ram or whatnot. just bring you in to take care of it. Very nice. I like that. All right. So we are at our final piece of business for today, and that is the shameless self-promotion. So go ahead and plug anything that you'd like, or if there's anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to bring up, you now have the floor, and then we'll close out from there.
Well, shameless plug. My book, Deep Cover Cop. Mills Crenshaw, who was Ed Parker's one of his first black belts at BYU, he compelled me to write the book and consulted with me on it. It's primarily about the 3.5 years I was undercover in narcotics, but I do cover some of the things that happened when I was in the jail and as a patrol officer. I didn't want to make it about Kempo, but again, it's such an integral part of my life. It's throughout the book. You can get it. Contact me on Facebook or email me. And then our event coming up in July, the end of July. It'll be in St. Louis, Collinville, just across the Mississippi River from St. Louis. It will be in the hotel where people will be staying, so it'll be very convenient. There's going to be some fabulous instructors there, and then some awards given out. You have time to talk to people, ask questions, learn, offer your opinion. Who knows? You may have the only valid opinion at that moment. So the information is up on either my San Jose Kempo Facebook page or my personal Facebook page under the Tracy's IKKA, that's International Kempo Karate Association page. Dave Hopper's Shreveport, Louisiana, Tracy's Kempo Shreveport. And you can get all the details there. The phone number's there to call, to make your reservation, to book a room, and all of that. And we'd love to see everybody.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check out your book. That sounds like a good read. Even though I really have no more time to do anything else, it seems. But many of my guests have written books and stuff, and I've been trying to get through them in my limited time. But I will definitely add yours to the list and check that out.
Well, I'll tell you, I wrote it intentionally in short sections because I like to read at night. And as I start to get sleepy, I want to finish that section. So it's written intentionally to be an easy read. There are some grammatical mistakes in there. That's Crenshaw. He was he was the one who was editing that way.
Gotcha. I like it. I like it. That sounds like my kind of thing. So yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
And anybody who orders it from me, I'd be more than happy to inscribe it for them and sign it.
No, very nice,
Make it
very
a little
nice. I
more
like it. I like it. All right, so yeah, I will definitely get links to that in the show notes. I'm going to work on trying to get a fast turnaround for this episode so that we got plenty of time to promote the event. So I will get that together, and yeah, I'm very, very, very thankful to have you on again to share your insights and talk about the event. And my dog is also happy to have you on. So. Yes. Thank you for chiming in there. My other dog has also decided that she wants to come in and play too. So, good stuff there. But yes, once again, I thank you so much for being on, and I can't wait to get this out for the listeners and viewers to check out. And of course, you have the open invitation to be on any time that you want in the future. So anything else that you have going on, we'd love to hear about it. And yeah, just I thank you again for being on.